Hey there, it's Cynthia with the Dinner Fix, where I help answer the question, what's for dinner? Today I'm making burgers. Now I know what you're thinking, not the most technically complicated dish to make, right? I think everyone at some point has made a burger. If you can smash ground beef and warm it over a skillet, you can make a burger. But what I think really distinguishes a okay burger from a great burger are two things. One, it comes down to the flavor combinations that you're using, and two, I think texture plays a huge part in the burger eating experience. And I think the burger that I'm making today certainly strikes a balance of both those things. Now, I love making burgers and I make them all sorts of ways with a variety of toppings, but the burger that I'm going to be making for you today is inspired by my absolute favorite fast food burger, the West Coast cult favorite, the In-N-Out burger. Slathered with a secret sauce, wink wink, some grilled onions, iceberg lettuce, American cheese, tomatoes. This burger is absolute perfection. And whether you cook it on the griddle or you cook it outside on the grill, you're going to enjoy making it and eating it again and again. So stick around and let me show you how to make it along with some crispy oven fries. All right, so the first step is to make our potatoes. And for our potatoes, we're going to be taking a slightly different approach than you might normally see for a potato. What I'm doing here is I have some cornstarch that I'm dissolving into just some room temperature water and just gradually adding that in, making sure that I dissolve it fully to avoid getting any clumps. And what we're going to do is once this is all incorporated in, we're going to be cooking it over a medium-low heat to make it a thick kind of paste that we're then going to use to coat our potatoes. So as you can see here, this is starting to thicken up. It's going to take maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and you want to continue to stir this. You might want to use a whisk, but you're looking for a consistency that looks a lot like maybe glue or paste, a lot like this. So we're just going to go ahead and set this aside now that it's done and let that cool off. And let's move on to our potatoes. So I have here just 2 russet potatoes. I'm not going to peel these. You can peel them if you'd like. As you can see, I've just halved them lengthwise, and then I'm going to quarter them. And then what I'm going to do in a second is we're going to take each of these quarters and we're just going to slice these. And I'm slicing these in about half to maybe 1/3 of an inch thick little slices, and we're just going to proceed to do this for all of our potatoes. So I'm just going to move these into a bowl, and then we will repeat with the remaining potatoes. All right, so with our potatoes all diced up, we're going to take the cornstarch mixture from earlier, which is cooled somewhat at this point, and we're going to add it to our potatoes, and we're going to mix this all in to ensure that the potatoes are completely coated in the mixture. Now, this may seem like a really odd technique. I was skeptical at first. I actually saw this on an episode of America's Test Kitchen recently, but it actually makes really good sense when you consider that cornstarch is often used in cooking to promote crisping and browning on the exterior of a food surface, and that's exactly what it's going to help us accomplish here. Now I have here just a sheet pan. I'm going to add some vegetable oil to it, and I'm just going to use a pastry brush to distribute it evenly across the entire sheet. You want to make sure it is completely coated so that your potatoes don't stick. All All right, so we're gonna take our potatoes and we're just gonna lay these in an even layer, spacing them out and then removing any excess cornstarch mixture that may be clinging to them. And we're just going to lay these all across the entire baking sheet as so. Then you're gonna take some aluminum foil and you want to make sure to fully cover the sheet. This is going to promote the steaming of the potatoes. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be steaming these first for about 12 minutes before removing the foil and then letting them brown without the foil. All right, so while our potatoes are cooking, we're going to make our secret or maybe not so secret sauce. And really all this sauce is equal parts mayonnaise. So I have here about 3 tablespoons of mayonnaise. To which I'm going to add an equal part of ketchup, so 3 tablespoons of ketchup. And as simple as the sauce is, it's so flavorful. And to this, I'm going to have here a couple of pickle spears that I'm going to finely mince. Now, I'm using pickle spears because it's what I always have in the fridge. I always keep them on hand. But if you have relish, you could certainly use that. You just want to ensure that it's something that's finely minced, so it makes for a little crunch, but you're not getting big chunks of pickle in your sauce. So we're gonna just add this to our bowl. We're gonna give this a stir, and that's really all there is to this sauce. I would just stick this in the fridge and pull it out once you're ready to start assembling your burgers. All right, so it's been about 12 minutes since our potatoes went into the oven. So what I'm gonna do at this point is I'm going to very carefully remove the foil, and you do wanna be careful because remember there is steam that's built up under here. You don't wanna burn your hands, so I'm using my oven mitts here. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the foil, and then these are gonna go back into the oven, and we're gonna continue to cook them for another 15-ish minutes until they've browned on the bottom. And then we're going to give them a flip. Moving on to our burgers. So I have here just a pound of ground beef that I'm going to divide into quarters. So we're making 4 quarter-pound patties, and we're just going to shape these into about 4.5-inch discs, just using, my hands. Trying to not work it too much because that will toughen the meat. So just kind of gently shape that into a 4.5-inch disc. And we're just gonna repeat this 4 times. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna make a divot in the center of each burger. And the reason I'm doing this is going to keep our patty flat. If you avoid this step, what's going to happen is your burger is going to swell up in the center almost like a hockey puck, and this is going to ensure that that doesn't happen, so don't skip this step. We're going to add just a little bit of salt to this, and it's worth mentioning that I normally would make my burgers with like an 80-20 ground beef. I am using a fattier ground beef for this. I just find that it yields a flavor that's closest to an In-N-Out burger. All right, remember those fries from earlier? So they have been cooking in our oven for about 15 minutes now, and we're gonna just take a peek, and yep, those look ready. So what you're looking for is a nice golden brown on the bottom. So I'm gonna continue to flip all of these, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move them back into the oven, and they're going to continue to cook for another 15 or so minutes, just until they're brown and golden on both sides, and then we'll season them once they're done. All right, so time to make our burgers. I have a skillet here that I've been heating over a medium-high heat, and I'm going to take our burgers and I'm going to put these divot side down. And you want to make sure that the divot side is down, otherwise you're pretty much negating having put that divot in there in the first place. So this skillet's big enough that I'm going to be able to cook all 4 in here at the same time. Just got to make a little bit of room here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just season this other side with some salt. our secret ingredient here is mustard, right? Typically you add mustard to a burger once it's cooked. Here we're actually going to add the mustard on the meat while it's still raw, and we're going to end up frying the mustard with the meat, and it's going to make for a really, really tasty flavor. So I'm just taking a pastry brush here, and I'm just going to brush this evenly all over my burgers. And then we're just going to continue to let these cook until they've browned on the bottom, and that's going to take, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. And if you have a splatter guard, this is a good time to use it because this will make a mess. Now, our burgers are brown. Actually, let me check this one. Let's see if it's ready. Yep, that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a flip. All right, so our burgers are done. I'm just gonna move these over to a plate and, cook these to your preference. I like my burgers still a little pink in the center, so I'm pulling them off when they're still medium. But regardless, you're gonna wanna pull them off and just kind of let them rest on a plate before consuming them. Now, before setting these aside, you want to top each one of the burgers with a slice of American cheese, and I strongly urge you to use American cheese because it's pretty critical to getting the right flavor profile for this burger. And then we're going to just tent these loosely with foil and set them aside while we put the finishing touches on our fries. So our fries are done. As you can see here, I've kind of tossed these. I'm adding some salt. I'm adding some Cajun seasoning to this as well. I really love fries with Cajun seasoning. That's totally optional. They taste just as yummy with salt, but I really like the Cajun seasoning. And I'm just going to give them a toss. And I'm doing this on foil because this cookie sheet, as you can see, has holes in it. It's actually specifically for making cookies, but I just line it with foil and use it like I would any other baking sheet. At any rate, so I've taken that skillet from earlier that we cooked our burgers in, and I've drained it of excess fat. And you can see there's still a little bit of fat left in the skillet, but I've drained most of the fat, and we're going to use the skillet just to toast our buns. So I just have some hamburger buns that are split in half, and I'm just going to give these a light toast, get some of that grease on there. Just brown them slightly before we go to assemble our burgers. All right, burger making time. So I'm going to take a bun, and then I'm going to take our sauce from earlier, and I'm just going to slather this on both sides of our burger. And this is going to be so, so yummy. Just want to spread that out. All right, and then we're going to take one of our burger patties, and you can see the cheese is melted nicely. And these are still warm because we tented them. I'm just going to slide that right on there. And then earlier I grilled some onions, and this is just an onion that I chopped up, added some olive oil, or sauteed in some olive oil over a low heat for about 25 minutes to get this nice caramelization going. And that is an absolute must for this burger. So you're going to want to do that in advance, just so it's ready to go when you're ready. And then we're going to top this with a couple of tomato slices, which of course you want to season. You always want to season your tomatoes when you're adding them to your burger. And then we're going to add some iceberg lettuce. And iceberg is really going to give us a really yummy crunch. Just hop a lid on that, and that burger is done. All right, so we're just going to take some of our fries. We're going to scoop those up. Look at how crispy and delicious those look. This is going to be a really yummy burger. And there you have it, burgers and oven fries. I'm going to go chow down. Enjoy.